No, I meant to say us.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, hi everyone. My name is Stevie with the Culture Collective, and today we are here to talk to YouTuber, voice actor, writer Brandon Rogers. Thank you so much for joining me here today.
Holy shit, thank you for joining me. I feel very honored to be here with you.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you. So I kind of want to go into first your YouTube work. Again, just in case if people from our YouTube channel don't really know, you started on YouTube and you have currently 7.19 million subscribers on YouTube. I just am curious, how did you get started with YouTube, comedy? Where did that all begin? Is that something that happened always with childhood or?
Yeah, well, I've always been into making videos ever since I was a kid. I've always, ever since I've had a camera, I have been making videos. And so when YouTube finally came out in, what was it, 2005, it was a no-brainer. Like I was already making sketches. I was obsessed with shows like In Living Color and Mad TV. Of course, John Waters is a big influence. And so yeah, I fell in love very quickly with making sketches years before YouTube was even a tickle in its daddy's nutsack. And so,
I love that. One of my favorite sketches of you is definitely the one when the Angry Office one where
oh yeah,
like move, I'm gay. I love that. It's
yeah.
one of my favorite things. I repost it all the time. So I am just curious, how do you come up with these sketches? Like I love that one maybe because I also work in an office as my day job, so maybe that's why I love it, but how do you come up with all that?
Well, yeah, I've always written what I know. So if you look at my YouTube career, like all the videos that I put out my whole life, they're a reflection of what I was doing at that time in my life. I made a show called Theater Class at the time when I was taking theater classes. Uh, and then Angry Office, the one you're referring to, I made that when I worked at an office. In fact, that video was shot at the office I worked at. I always made the stuff that I knew because those were the resources that I had. So when I shot Theater Class, I had access to theater students. I had access to a theater classroom. I had access to all the ingredients to make a show. So, and then just like Angry Office, when that came around, a lot of my videos during that time took place in an office. Bryce Tank Thrust, who's my corporate character, again shot at the same office. I just had a lot of access to corporate settings and that sort of office life, and so that's what so now the life that I live isn't your average, like not everyone's a YouTuber, so it is a little bit of a task to make sure that the videos don't reflect a lifestyle that people can't relate to. That being said, I don't think my lifestyle has really changed that much. I thought that becoming a big YouTuber, your life would drastically change. Um, the only thing that's uncommon about my life really is that I get to work for myself, or I get to I don't have a boss anymore. And so I know most people do have a boss, but like my fans are my boss. Every week I care about what they think. They keep the lights on. So I don't know. I like to keep my work pretty authentic to who I am, and I like to keep who I am pretty grounded and relatable. Because I don't want my head to be in the clouds when I'm with my fans.
Absolutely. And is that like the same when you create like your characters as well? Like what's your process for that? Like, because you created like 30 characters. Like you have
Oh,
Grandpa, you have Kathy, you have Bryce, which we'll talk to a little bit later in the
yeah.
interview. How is that like?
It, it's a form of self-expression. Like it feels like screaming in a place where it's safe to be loud and to scream. I My whole
Good
life I was,
afternoon. I'm
as a
Katie
child I
Killjoy.
was
And I'm
always
Tom
like,
Trench.
oh
Chaos
yeah,
out
they're
of
always
Pentagram
just a
City today is
self-reflection. They're like self-expression of like I don't know. First of all, I think it's boring to go through life as just one person. I think that like everyone's so fucking fine with that. I don't get it, but whatever. When I get to be a person, I get to be them. I get to sink into them. In fact, sometimes it is hard to break out of character in between takes or after we're done filming. I don't. I just ever since I was a kid, I've been screaming to play loud characters, and in high school theater, I've learned that I could play these characters safely, and I got laughs, and I just hate people telling me to be quiet. And so these characters are just like a world where I can just be loud safely and kind of, I don't know. They're just my reflections of people around me. Like, anyway, I won't get into the sauce too deep, but yeah, they're it's me mimicking the types of personalities that I have seen or have come across in my life.
Kind of
Yeah.
like an escape of like maybe real life in a sense when you get into like these different characters, maybe.
Yeah, yeah, it
Yeah.
does feel like I don't have to be me for a bit, and I get to be absurd. It's a little bit of clowning, it's a little bit of drag, it's a little bit of just comedy workshopping and improv. It's a bunch of it's like an intersection of all the weird influences that I've had, especially in my teen years and in my early 20s. Uh, yeah, and also just it helped having a family that's really funny. My home was always a safe space for me to joke around, especially with my dad and my mom. They both, I mean, we just loved comedy so much as a family. Uh, yeah, that it's just kind of we were always raised with the idea that like being funny is the most important thing you could be. And so yeah, our family very much lives by keeping humor alive and well within us.
I love that. And I know you mentioned before about you switch between characters. I saw another video that I really love. It's the day at the park where you kind of like made your own universe, your Brandon Rogers verse where all your different characters are kind of like in one sketch. How was making that? Was that film all in like one day? Was that, how did you switch
Oh,
between different people?
that was probably filmed. I think it was filmed over 7 days. That was really there's a few videos where I bring in a lot of my characters, and it's challenging because you have to remember the accessories for so many people. So like each character comes with a certain amount of like bracelets, wigs, makeup, contacts, teeth. And like if you forget one of those items, you have to go back home or you have it halts the whole day. So I think the most important, the hardest thing is just packing, making sure every character has everything they need. Every prop, every you know what anything that character might come with, and it's very easy to forget that stuff. So we have a guy who works in our crew who's like, I feel like 80% of his job is just to go to places where we left stuff and bring it to set. uh yeah, yeah, challenging.
Challenging. Okay. Yeah, well, you made it through it and you made a great video. And you also made
Well,
Night at the
thank
Park,
you.
which was
Night at the
very
Park, that
funny
was
as
even
well.
more challenging. That was about a month of filming,
Oh my God.
and I didn't realize how much more lethal the park becomes at night. It's a lot easier to film during the day than it is at night because every insect and animal comes out. You're dealing with, we were getting stung by bees and wasps because I guess our stage lights were fucking up something about their sleep. They thought it was sun or something, so they were coming out and stinging us. And then we had like critters like coyotes and mountain lions and shit like that we had to be. Yeah, I think people forget that Southern California has its fair share of predators in the wild, and I'm not talking about the people in Hollywood.
We
um,
definitely don't have that in New York.
oh yeah, yeah. In New York, you're safe from it. There's something about filming in the wilderness at night and then hearing a large beast howling not far from you, and then you hear a few other large wild beasts howling from around you, and it's almost like they're telling each other, "We have prey right here," and that was horrifying. And we were a little bit cautious at times, but other times we were just being reckless and filming and screaming, not knowing what could be in the woods with us. And I'm very lucky none of us got attacked by any animal or person. So
Well, very lucky indeed. So I know you brought up one of your characters before, Bryce, and love Bryce. I've
yes.
seen a few videos of her, and I know that she was a inspiration for Hazbin Hotel. And I just wanted to know, how does it
Yeah.
feel to have one of your characters that you created be an inspiration for another also independent creator and to make that character?
It's cool. I mean, Hazbin Hotel is like like the top show right now, or at least it's in like the top 8 or something like that. Anyways,
Mhm.
to have one of my YouTube characters essentially be in a show that's doing so well, it's mind blowing because she just started off as a sketch. She was just a comedy sketch, but I played her more authentically than my other characters because I have a personal bias toward late 80s, early 90s business bitches with the shoulders and the big phone and the big hair and the nails. And there's just something about those women that I am so inherently drawn to. And Bryce exudes all those elements. In fact, she is essentially, arguably, just those elements in a body. Like, just the business bitch. Like I almost feel like she goes to sleep in those clothes. Um, and so to see Katie Killjoy, who I think the animators did an amazing job of embodying everything down to like the way she snaps her neck. That was something that I did as Bryce. You know, the way that she stands and she
Yeah.
poses, and the way her smile. You know, it's all the elements that I try and bring to life in Bryce. But to see it come to life in animation feels so much more realized because she can do things with her body that I can't do. So yeah, it's one of the biggest shows, if not the biggest show that I've ever done, and it was nice going into it not feeling that imposter syndrome because this is a character that I'm very good at playing. You know, and I think the note was like just play Bryce Tank Thrust. Like when I went in the studio, it was like just be Bryce. I think the challenge was making Katie sound distinctly different from Blitz because
Yeah.
Bryce and Blitz have very similar ways of talking. So I really, especially in season two, I tried keeping Katie's voice a little higher and keeping the way she talked more feminine and more, more of that sultry kind of a tone. So anyway, I'm very, very honored that she gets to live through animation. Yeah.
Yeah, awesome. And when you talk about Hazbin Hotel, and we got notified that Hazbin Hotel is actually going to be in the Guinness Book of World Records for most
Yeah.
anticipated animated TV
Uh,
shows. I believe I got that correct. How does that
yeah.
feel to see how far Hazbin Hotel has come, especially since you guys there's sing-alongs, there's Broadway shows, you guys are all in Hot Topic recently, even Hell of a
You
Boss
know,
too.
if you asked me 10 years ago what I thought of Hollywood, I would have said that we're up this road of really watered down mainstream content, and there isn't a lot of really, you know, super deep or strange or alternative or weird kind of comedy or music taking the forefront. But seeing a show like Has Been for how alternative it is and how queer it is, and it's not a show I would have expected to reach a mainstream presence. And so the fact that it has really restored my faith in what mainstream means, because if this show that in my opinion has retained all of its creative integrity can go mainstream while being that authentic to itself, it's really inspiring to me, and I hope it's inspiring to other young independent creators. Not that I'm young, but I hope that it inspires people to get their shit off of their notebooks, off their laptop, and into the ether, because that's just what Viv did, and the internet took to it, and they loved it, and
Katie
Amazon noticed their
Killjoy.
love for it. I mean, it was a
I'm now
domino
gonna give the
effect, and
kid
now
who
it's one
you
of the
are,
top
Tom.
shows, and
Breaking
not just
news.
top animations, the top shows, period. And so that's fun. It's fun for me to come across an ad or a billboard, and they're all pieces of the show's success, and to stumble upon it in the wild at Hot Topic, at Spencer's, or wherever we may be. Uh, it's a magnificent reminder that like weird stuff can go really big, and I'm so thankful that it has. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. And the Hellaverse, I believe that's what it's called, is so huge that it actually spinned off the spin-off series Hell of a Boss, which I loved.
Yeah.
I watched Hell of a Boss first. I actually found it by accident because I thought it was
Oh.
Has Been Hotel because at that time it
Ah.
was the pilot and that was the only thing that was on. And the scrolling when YouTube recommends something, I just saw the thumbnail for Hell of a Boss and I thought it was Has Been Hotel and I watched it and I absolutely loved it. I think I binged like the
Oh.
remaining season. And I know you are a writer and voice actor for Blitzo, the O is silent. And
Yes.
and I just wanted to know, was that always the plan for you to do? Was that always the plan to voice act and also write for that character?
Yeah, the offer came as a double offer. It was always voice acting and writing, and I think and I don't want to speak for her, but I think what drew Viv to me was that she saw my channel, particularly a show I was doing called Blame the Hero, and because I guess I guess she was drawn to something about my voice, but then also the fact that I wrote that show myself, and
Mhm.
she was like, "Oh, this is an actor who comes with his own tone, and he can create it and write the dialogue." And I think she wanted to see that same thing with Helava, and I certainly hope I delivered it. I love writing for Hell of a Boss. I love that I only write for Helava because I think that the fact that I'm on one show and not the other show helps lend to the fact that they both feel very different.
Mhm.
Viv is the secret sauce that makes both shows work, but I'm definitely there to help make Hell of a Boss feel like its own show, and while still paying respect to the universe that the rules that abide within that universe. Um, I like the way that both shows have crystallized in different directions. I mean, Has Been is a very fantastical show with very uh fantasy like elements, and you have like it's very comic booky. The stakes are much higher. It's about war and hell and heaven, and whereas Helava, you could argue the stakes are so much lower because they're about interpersonal relationships, it's about romance, but yet the stakes feel just as high, if not higher. So I love that it's a show that can make very relatable, connect, issues with connection and communication feel as gargantuan as like heaven and hell battling each other. So yeah, they're both very different, but I think Hell of a Boss deals with a lot more of a darker, mature kind of a conflict issue situation. And Has Been Hotel deals with it's still dark, but it's a little more Marvel, a little more like as a comic booky. It's you know bigger stakes and more fantastical elements.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I definitely, want to talk about like I feel like when Has Been not Has Been Hotel, I'm sorry, Hell of a Boss first started, like I feel like the scale was like a workplace comedy and stuff like
Yeah,
that. And I just really want to know like when did that change to get a little bit more deeper with their characters? Because it absolutely did. Like I feel like the story has changed a lot. So when did that start?
it's the same way that I guess in my videos the characters get more serious as time goes on. You live long enough with a clown, and you can't help but explore what that clown is like when they're sad,
Hmm.
or when they're heartbroken, or when they're going through a tough time. I think the same thing with Hell of a Boss. We knew the characters well enough to where we felt like the natural direction to go with them is to explore the darker tones, behind them. There was always a master plan for the show, I think, to get a bit more serious over time, or to get darker over time. But I don't think we've realized up front just how deep we were going to go with these characters. It's like having friends. You meet someone at school or at work, and it's very lighthearted and topical. But then you start hanging out outside of the workplace or outside of school. You start getting into more deeper things. You meet their family. You start to see what their stresses are like outside of that work. I think the same thing goes with these characters. They started out as like a workplace comedy, like you said, but over time, I think we kind of, as writers and as actors, we got to know who these characters were outside of the office and what really made them who they are, and sort of the traumas that kind of calcified or calloused them into these hardened, almost criminals. So, yeah, I probably strayed so far from the question you just asked, but anyway,
Okay.
that's
I
it did
love
not. No, yeah, it did not start off. It was a workplace comedy. Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. Awesome. Thank you. And I think I only have like maybe time for a few more questions.
Mhm.
So I basically just also wanted to talk about, you know, Hazbin Hotel was picked up by Prime, and also Hellaverse was also picked up by Prime. So, and you guys have full creative control. How does it feel that the studios are starting to recognize that and allowing the creators to keep that control?
It's unheard of, first of all. That kind of deal does not happen ever. If a studio gives you money to make something, there's an expectation that it has to be the thing they want made and not the thing you want made. And so to have a show, or to have a platform like Prime just say, "Hey, here's all this money to make your show even better, and you can do whatever you want." That fucking doesn't happen. So it's nice that like, as a writer for the show, I have felt zero pushback or creative influence. Like, sure, I mean, Prime will definitely weigh in with suggestions because they do care about the show, and honestly, their suggestions are pretty good. I can't say I'm sure we've taken a ton of them and thrown them into the cookie jar, but to have and it sounds like I'm sucking Bezos's dick right now. I'm not doing that, but to have a platform that really doesn't that doesn't just fund your show, but cares about it and gives that kind of creative feedback and then say, hey, take it or leave it. Well, we have you tried doing this, or what if you, and it's nice that the suggestions don't come with a gun. Like a lot of places, like, why don't you try making this character's legs longer or making this da, da, da. But they really have laid off and allowed us to keep making the show we want. And in fact, to let us make a show with even fewer boundaries, because the only boundaries we really had was the YouTube community guidelines, and even those are very forgiving. So to have zero guidelines that we have to follow, we can say cunt and shit and piss and all the other things I'm sure you just bleeped out I just said. But like I'm very, very happy that we don't have to censor ourselves, you know. So that's a, and we get more money to do so. So yeah.
Yeah. You guys could get absolutely crazy, especially since like they have like The Boys and Gen V, which absolutely go
That
crazy.
was the first thing I said when I heard, because it was always like, where are we gonna go? We knew Hellava was gonna go somewhere. Well,
Yeah.
we were always hoping that it was gonna wind up with on Prime, so it could be with Hazbin, so we could legally have the shows merge.
Yeah.
But whatever, it was like, well, I just hope it finds somewhere. And so when I heard it was on Prime, I was like, oh, you mean the people who did the giant penis exploding on The Boys? Perfect. We
Yes.
have no limits. So
Yes. I absolutely love that. I love that. I love that. I'm so excited for the future of Hell of a Boss and on Prime. So I'm definitely excited to see that. And just to kind of close this off a little bit, I just want to know, like your characters are all of them, YouTube, Blitzo, Katie Killjoy are all so memorable. And I just want to know what are the elements or do you think can make a character unforgettable like the ones that you just did?
God, that is a good question. What makes a character unforgettable?
Yeah.
Uh, well, first of all, dialogue. Dialogue is the most important. The first 10 seconds a character is on screen, those 10 seconds better tell us everything we need to know about the character. So if you look at any of my videos and you look at the first 10 seconds, it's usually like I'm really trying to condense as much info, like a mom waking up with doing her dishes in bed, going like, shit, I've been doing dishes in my sleep again. Like, okay, we get that this is a crazy mother who cares more about, keeping the house clean than she does about, getting sleep. Uh, Same with like Katie Killjoy. The moment she arrives on screen, she's smoking a cigarette, she's yelling at people, she's being evil, breaking her neck, being like, it's all these elements that I really just want to condense and show people this is who this cunt is, this is what she believes in. I think that's really important, how you introduce a character to an audience. And then just if the character isn't relatable, are they funny? Is there something that makes us light up every time they come back on screen? Like, why do we want to see this person again? So I try and keep them as lovable, even if they're terrible pieces of shit and they're homophobic or evil, sexist or whatever the horrible quality they have. I still try and, like what Steve Carell did with Michael Scott. There's still likable qualities that make you draw them, make you love this asshole. So uh, if I can sell an asshole to an audience, that's my favorite thing. Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. Well, thank you. That's all, unfortunately, all the time that I have with you
No
today. I would
worries.
love.
I'm so sorry I rambled for so much, but thank you.
No, it's totally fine. I love to ramble and I would love to have the opportunity to talk with you again. It was
Oh, I
amazing.
would love that. No, thank you
Yeah.
so much.
Yeah, you're
Thank you.
welcome. Thank you
All right.
so
Well,
much.
have a good rest of your day.
You
It was
too,
nice
you
meeting you.
too.
Thank
Nice
you.
meeting you. Bye.
So, yeah, bye.
I keep